Loot boxes. Also known as a loot crate, prize crate, or as some people see it, the beginning of the end for video games themselves. Loot boxes are a virtual box in video games that can be opened to receive collectibles for your character in the game. These loot boxes can be received either through in-game currency, real-life money, or playing the game for a certain number of hours. The problem that many people have with loot boxes are that the collectibles inside the box are randomized. The contents in the box are not guaranteed, so paying a price for a loot box may not get the collectibles one desires. Loot boxes are a form of microtransactions in video games. Microtransactions are purchasable virtual goods in video games that do not come with the initial product. For some companies, these microtransactions have proved to be a main source of revenue. State your name and what do you do?
My name is Connor Cable and I am a junior at Mercer University.
So Connor, do you like to play video games?
Yes, I do. Video games are one of my favorite things to do in my free time.
How long have you been playing?
I've been playing as long as I can remember, honestly. I got one of my first Christmas presents was a video game system, and every year I would always ask for more, and to this day it's one of my favorite things to do. I play them all the time.
In the past 10 years, there has been a feature called loot boxes being implemented into countless video games. Could you talk a little bit about that and your reaction to such a feature?
I've been reading a lot about these loot boxes, and honestly, they make me really mad. It blows my mind that video game developers can get away with essentially making half of a game and charging their consumers more for something that should already be in the game. It's essentially shipping a broken product. It makes me really, really angry. Luckily, I don't play those types of games, but a lot of my friends do, and I know it pisses them off as well. So it makes no sense to me. It's shipping a broken game, and I hate it.
Do you see the future of video games staying on this path of using loot boxes as a business model?
Sadly, I do, because big companies like EA and Activision and Ubisoft, they're ruled by the almighty dollar. So as long as it's profitable, they're going to do it, no matter what their consumers say. Luckily, there's been a recent outcry, so hopefully that will get them to make some smarter decisions. But yes, for the foreseeable future, I do see this continuing.
As a feature, loot boxes have dominated the video game market in the past 10 years, where they began in free-to-play mobile gaming back in 2007. This feature was intended to bring a source of income to video game companies that put free games on the market. Initially, the business model worked great. The free-to-play game would bring in new consumers to try out the game. In order to advance one's character in the game, or in some instances, have a stronger or better character, the loot boxes offered a chance to achieve this for a certain price. This model allowed players to choose whether they wanted to spend money on the game or simply play through the game for free. The early loot box system was not mandatory, and that's what made the feature so popular. However, throughout the years, full-fledged video games with $60 price tags began to incorporate this model into their reward system. Developers would either use the loot boxes to serve as unlocking cosmetic items or to unlock better weapons and gear for your character, the latter being the most controversial. The problem with this feature is that gamers and loyal consumers feel taken advantage of. Paying a hefty price for a video game only to encounter a feature that prevents the rest of the content within the game to be blocked off unless paying more money had angered the video game community. Consumers did not want to pay for a game with only half of the content simply to unlock the other half through sheer luck. What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Spencer Rasmussen, and I'm a computer programmer.
So Spencer, do you like to play video games?
Yeah, I play a decent amount.
How long have you been playing?
Probably roughly since I was about 7-ish.
In the past 10 years, there's been a feature called loot boxes being implemented into countless video games. Could you talk a little bit about that and your reaction to such a feature?
Loot boxes aren't inherently bad. In most games, they have loot boxes where you get them and you get mainly cosmetic stuff that has no effect on the game, just how everything looks. In the sense of, like, more recent times where people put it in loot boxes and then also have game-changing content as far as characters or buffs, I think it's kind of stupid because it just turns the whole game into a pay-to-win environment.
In some countries, the loot box feature has either been regulated or outright banned as it falls under the gambling law in China, Japan, and Australia. Consumers have been championing and petitioning their own governments to follow suit, as this feature has been shown to push away loyal customers. The United States and Belgium have also began investigations to determine the legality of loot boxes. One such example is the state of Hawaii filing a lawsuit against the video game company called Electronic Arts, or EA for short. This lawsuit entails that the loot box feature cultivates an endless addiction of collecting and gambling for the youth. Chris Lee, a state legislator for Hawaii, has discussed that he is working hard to prevent the sales of games containing loot boxes to gamers under the age of 21 in Hawaii. Aspects such as gambling-based mechanics and the odds of winning various items in loot boxes need to be made public so the consumer is aware of what they're getting into. Lee has stated that EA's game has turned into an online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. One mainstream example where gaming and gambling became intertwined with the law was in 1999, where a lawsuit claimed that Pokemon cards were considered illegal gambling as the odds were not guaranteed. However, the lawsuit was thrown out shortly after. Considering that Pokemon cards were a children's hobby and not required to purchase, the prosecution did not have enough evidence for a case. Another case involved a company by the name of Valve being investigated because one of their games hosted an underground skin gambling industry that was created by the player community. The investigation ceased once Valve shut the underground industry down. Today, EA is at the forefront of the media and experiencing even more scrutiny than the previous companies due to loot boxes becoming such an integral part of the gaming progression system. Chris Lee believes that as an elected official, he has the obligation to protect public health and safety, and loot boxes impedes on the safety of minors. The Entertainment Software Ratings Board, or ESRB for short, and companies like EA staunchly believe that loot boxes do not qualify as gambling because they are not required to purchase to complete the game. All eyes are on the video game industry to see the future of the loot box business model. As most video games have followed suit on the loot box feature, perhaps this will be only the beginning of a dark trend. As the state of Hawaii continues their fight against EA, gamers around the world are hopeful that the loot boxes will come to an eventual end. Unlike what video game companies tend to believe, gamers are not made of money.